Finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
What's up? Good afternoon and welcome to the 313th episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Got off to a little late start. I was preparing for the show and we all got logged out of the Score Atlanta X or Twitter account. I was going to pull up some stories, so we had to work that out. But today we are going to start with my play of the week. Actually, I guess it's the play of December, because we obviously took some time off with the show, but it was one of the most exciting plays I've seen all football season, and it just so happens to be the final play of a fantastic 2023 season. We're going to break down that play, everything that led up to it, and then all the players that were involved in it. Talked a little bit about it on Monday. That was Max Brown of Jefferson. So I actually have his stats pulled up this season because it was an interesting storyline heading into the year. Will Max Brown see playing time on this Jefferson team? Because, of course, his older brother, Sammy, he was a four-year starter. He began his career at Commerce High School as a freshman playing linebacker and running back. He balled out as a freshman and then played for his father, Mike Brown, who was the head coach of Commerce. And they went over to Jefferson, and then Sammy, we know what he did in those final three seasons. And so Max did get to play a significant amount this past season. So that's huge. Just like his brother stepped up, and Sammy, we know, one of the strongest guys to ever come through the state, a multi-sport athlete, state champion wrestler, state champion track and field, but he was a running back linebacker combo. His brother Max has always been a wide receiver linebacker combo, and this last year we really saw him put on that size. He's coming into his own, and I think he's measuring about 6'1", 200 pounds. So he has grown into that linebacker role. Probably could still play receiver, 6'1", 200 pounds, but he's going to get bigger and stronger, and I think he's going to be a very exciting prospect. Total college potential moving forward, and the way we saw him play and finish out this season, I think he's going to be a key piece to Jefferson, who I thought had a fantastic season last year. Obviously with Sammy, he was their go-to guy. The big question mark was, how are they going to get a bunch of support around Sammy? And they actually found it this year. They were more balanced offensively. A lot of young guys really stepped up. The defense was statistically better. They had a better secondary this year. And I think next year they're going to have a chance to make another deep run. So they lost to Creekside in, I believe it was the quarterfinals, and in that game, which is pretty cool, Sammy had a fantastic game, rushed for about 164 yards, led the team in tackles with 13, but his little brother Max was also out there on the field together. And so in that game, you had Sammy with 12 total tackles, a tackle for loss. Rhett Hemphill, who's going to be a senior next year for Jefferson, had a great game, 11 tackles. Jaden Yang, another rising senior, 11 tackles, and then Max was involved. He had 3 tackles in that game. So I thought that was pretty cool for Max to earn playing time on that team, step in a linebacker role, face off against a great Creekside team. It was a disappointing result, but I mean, that Creekside team was the real deal. They came up just short of the state title, but what a privilege to be able to be a freshman, have your brother All-American Gatorade Player of the Year, and be able to be out there on the field competing with him in his last varsity game. And then obviously Sammy's going to Clemson. I'm excited to see what Clemson's going to look like next year. I think he's going to have immediate play time. So all this has centered around Max Brown. And I'm going to continue to stress that as we watch this final play, which closed the season. Just thought it was fantastic. There's no better way to close it out. And then after this, we'll talk about some of our score top 10, some coaching news, and then some basketball updates. But we'll probably run this play a few times because it wasn't just Max Brown, but it's only a minute long. Let's just watch it through in its entirety first so you guys get the feel.
What a performance by Brody McWhorter.
Oh, man.
Sophomore out of Cass. Already has 6 offers. You got Florida State probably at the top of his list right now if you're looking at the on-3 predictor. But it's still a long way to go for this 10th grader. But he's shown you a lot of big things to come in the next 2 years.
Point conversion.
Going for 2 in the win. McWhorter takes the snap. No, instead it goes to the running back. And he is not going to get in. The freshmen come up with their first ever win in the Georgia Elite Classic.
All right, so now
he's shown you a lot of big things to come in the next 2 years.
All right, so what I love about this, the game is pure chaos at this point because freshmen have had the lead. They thought it was going to be over. Huge 4th down conversions. They end up throwing up a 50-50 jump ball at the buzzer. And this is an all-star game, so the clock was always a question. You don't really know how it's going to run. Sometimes they stop it after a first down, sometimes they don't. But it was the final game, and so we had the luxury to actually stop the plays and then set up this opportunity. So in the huddle before this play, the body language of Max Brown was incredible. I mean, it's freezing cold out there. It's been a long game. It's been a long season for these kids, obviously. But he's the first one in that huddle. He gets the signal from the coach, and he just goes running up to get lined up. And the coach is like, hold up, one more thing. And so he gets out there, and I think that's what's so impressive is he's ready for this play. We don't know if Brody's going to throw it again. He's been key on this drive. You got Kamari Farmer in the backfield. You got this 2-point conversion, first one of the game, obviously. They've been kicking PATs in the All-Star where you can't even have a live play. And he goes out there and reads it so perfectly. So he's number 23 for the gold team. He's wearing that red helmet. And let's see if we can see him. And obviously you can get a better look at this. We have the clip on social media, and you can watch it on our YouTube page. But watch the quarterback. So Brody is back there in the shotgun. He's got Kamari Farmer to his left. Watch him take this side step.
He got better as the year went on.
The running back,
Hold your
Kamari
breath.
Farmer.
Last play of the Georgia high school football season comes down to.
See Max Brown. He's in that middle. Sorry, he's standing up right in front of the referee right there. So he's in the end zone right on conversion. And he's gonna crack down and meet him. Yeah, there he is, right there. So watch the side step. All right, so you see the pursuit. He comes straight up.
Takes the snap. No, instead it
fights off these blocks and is able to wrap up.
He is not going to get in.
Under 2-point conversion.
Going for 2 in the win. McWhorter takes the snap. No, instead it goes to the running back, and he is not going to get in.
All right, so pause it one more time because we'll watch it again. So the other player that I want to shout out that we talked about yesterday has been in multiple Georgia elites. That's PlayOn Sports from Athens Academy. He's going to be number 2, and really he comes in and shores up the tackle as Max pulls him back right on the goal line. And I think if Max didn't get there first, that play has a 99, nearly 100% chance of converting and being successful. But Max's initial read on the play, fighting through those blocks, getting his arms around Kamari, and then PlayOn getting off his blocks, recognizing the play, and coming down. I mean, the level of difficulty with the game on the line was just incredible. And reminder, this is the last play of the season. So watch it one more time, just because I want to give these freshmen shout-outs. All right, so
hold your breath. Last play of the Georgia high school football season comes down to a 2-point conversion.
Going for 2 in the win. McWhorter takes the snap. No, instead it goes to the running back, and he is not going to get in. The freshmen come up with their first ever win
right there. And so you saw
in the
that
Georgia
was
Elite Classic with a goal line stand on the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, we can pause it. So on that play, lined up, PlayOn Sports is in a one-on-one situation with C.J. Dockery, Prince Avenue Christian's receiver that pretty much led them this last season, a starter, a state champion, and one of the more productive, talented, and complete receivers we've seen in that sophomore class. So he's able to fight off that block, knowing that, hey, this could be a play action. This guy could run a route. Someone could come in the flats, but he has that quick recognition. He's willing to get physical from that DB position. He also plays receiver. I'm talking about PlayOn. Did some things in the offense during this game, but he's able to fight off that block, team up with Max, and get the stop. Does not get better than that. Total shout out to them, and you're going to want to watch them in the years ahead. They have bright futures ahead of them, and they took advantage and seized every opportunity in this game to really build confidence and momentum, and also a lasting memory with all these freshmen that were able to play in that game. I highly suggest watching it through its entirety. There were some fantastic plays made throughout it. And another big one I want to talk about, and I did tweet this one out, but it happened in the first half, and I really think this helped set the tone, and it was such an impressive play, and that is number 29, Blaze Battaglia. So he's a linebacker, and on this play, you got Brody McWhorter, Cass's quarterback. He rolls out to the right. It's a design pass play. He flushes out of the pocket, and then Blaze is having to guard a deep, I think it was probably a corner route, and Blaze actually slips and falls. So he's backpedaling, and he falls for a second. And so then the receiver goes straight back into the end zone, but Blaze is able to recover so quickly. As a linebacker, by the way, great in the run block, but this is him in the pass coverage. He slips real quick. Brody recognizes it and says, oh, my guy's going to be open now. So he goes straight to the end zone, but Blaze has already recovered, gotten back up into coverage, and then has the interception in the end zone. Huge play. One of the best ones we've seen all throughout the Georgia Elite Classic. But I thought that was so impressive because Brody made the right decision. He sees the guy fall down. He knows where to go, but there's something about these Milton guys and creating turnovers, and it was a truly impressive play. So if you go back and watch it, you'll see it in the first quarter. Let's find exactly when it happened. And then I have one more thing to add about that play in a sec. But yeah, the Milton guys were all over the place. They had, I think, 3 freshmen on that defense throughout that game. No way the freshmen would have won without those guys. DJ Rump getting after it. He was lined up against the biggest sophomores on that offensive line for the sophomore team. There were plays where he got double teamed, got pushed around a little bit, but he never stopped. Had pursuit throughout the entire game, and that effort really helped out, just being consistent. And that's not a natural position for him. Going from a linebacker to defensive tackle and kind of having to play both roles, but he just showed a great effort, racked up some big tackles, and definitely had a great game. Showed his physicality and fearlessness going up against the sophomores, who were definitely tipping the scales on that offensive line. So let me find exactly when this interception happened for those interested to go back and check it out. All right. And let's just look at the stats real quick. So yeah, Blaze did not have tackles in that game, but he did have the big interception. Keon Cleveland also had an interception. And then Keon Standifer, the guy that came up with the assist on that game-clinching tackle, had 5 pass breakups in that game. So anyone looking for a DB that has great ball skills, can get off blocks, even against the likes of CJ Dockery, and can make the big clutch plays with pure instincts, recognition, Keon Standifer is that guy, Athens Academy. Max Brown in that game led with a team-high 9 tackles. That was also a game tackle, doing what the Browns do best. He also had a forced fumble in that game and a tackle for loss. Hats off to him. I'm pretty sure he won our defensive player of the game. So let's look at this drive one more time. Might have been on the opening drive of the game. One sec. Okay, so freshmen scored first. Sophomores tied it up. The quarter ends 7-7. Another player, obviously, that balled out was Ben Mooser, Prince Ave quarterback. He found Standifer for a 35-yard touchdown. Those guys definitely seized the opportunity. All right, maybe it came in the third quarter. All right, CJ Dockery, who we mentioned, had a great season. He also scored a 35-yard touchdown in that game. I'm just going to have to see if I can search this. Okay, had to have been first drive of the third quarter. Let's see. All right, well, I've spent enough time on it, but Blaze Battaglia, what was so interesting, because I was so impressed with that play, I'm like, man, this guy is really good. And then you watch the broadcast, and Rusty and Matt are on the spot. They're like, oh, yeah, his dad played in the NFL for multiple seasons, so he's also got it. Great football family and background, and a dad that has been to the height of football. So I think he's going to have a bright future as well. But that is our play of the week, brought to you by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Shout out to all those guys. Congrats and well done on an outstanding game. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, if you guys missed it, our score top 10. This was Najee and I. We narrowed down, I think, a list of about 65, 75 guys, and then decided who were our top 10 standouts from this season. I think the things that went into is like who was a part of the storyline throughout the season, who showed up every single week, made the season more exciting, led their team, and then had those spectacular elite performances that really put them above the rest of the competition. So the first guy on the list was Jeremy Hecklinski. What he did this season was unbelievable. I know they came up one game short, but if you think about it, that Walton offense, a lot of those leads were built in a flash. In the first half, key example is the Grayson game to open the season. They put up 49 points in the first half. Good luck ever seeing a team score 49 on Grayson in one half ever again. That was truly incredible. And not to mention they did that fumbling their first possession of the game. That's how quick Jeremy Hecklinski was when that offense was moving. Walton also had a prolific rushing attack, and he still puts up 3,835 yards, 50 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So Jeremy Hecklinski, I think that's a no-brainer. I know it was a tough ending, but I'm obviously excited to see what he does at the college level. He's clutch, and I think he's going to continue to grow. He's been playing the quarterback position. I saw a photo of him yesterday. Looked like he was 11 years old, winning awards at passing competitions. That's what he does. He eats, sleeps, and breathes the quarterback position, and I think he's going to really thrive at the college level. So we put him on the list. I think he did a great job of playing in the spotlight and making the season more exciting. Next guy on the list, KJ Bolden, Buford athlete. Obviously the big news was him signing with the Bulldogs. He's going to join that star-studded secondary. It was a huge commitment. He was previously, before the season, I think maybe 1 weekend, he committed to FSU. He ended up flipping, and it was one of the bigger breaking news headlines of this season when he flipped to the Dogs. He can do it all. He was the first Buford player to ever score 4 different ways in a single season. I think part of that is because of his exceptional skill set, but also because Buford tends to be a team, they have so much talent, they don't normally rely on one guy like that. They like to establish the run. They've got a bunch of guys in the backfield, but he really was that Caleb Downs level player this year for them. Came up clutch offensively, and then special teams, the big return in the playoffs. You're about to play Grayson. He takes the opening kickoff for a touchdown. It's a guy that every single play he can take it the distance. He's going to be an outstanding player at the next level. He's quick. Sports Illustrated, even before last year, named him the best athlete in the country, and I think he earned it. Buford relied on him a lot in all 3 phases, and I think he is definitely someone that earned their spot. All right, Sammy Brown was another player on the list, another no-brainer. He had some of the best individual games that we've seen in probably the last decade this year to close out his incredible varsity season. He ended up having 2,289 rushing yards and 36 touchdowns. And then this was my favorite game he had this season. It was against Hiram, a team that had a ton of big-name prospects, probably the best Hiram team they've ever had. And in that game, he played the best offense and best defense game that some people would ever play within the same game. He had a touchdown pass. He also had 20 carries, 354 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. And then defensively, 16 tackles for loss and 3 tackles. Thank you, Najee, for bringing that up. That is our official graphic, and you can see our breakdown of it during the halftime of the freshman-sophomore game, if you check that one out. All right, so below Sammy Brown is Tyler Atkinson. I think he is the only sophomore on this list, so shout out to him for that. And what he did this season is something I've never seen before. He had 197 tackles, insane, 25 tackles for loss, 10.5 sacks. He was all over the field. He's so technical. He's just mature beyond his years, and I think he is, these next 2 seasons, he's already going to be the top linebacker prospect in the country. But I think people are going to realize, like, this guy is like a once-in-a-generation talent. He's special. He's worth the price of admission. And if you're an offense, you're going to have to gear your entire game plan around this guy. He's disruptive. He's high football IQ. He understands it. And his the amount of different moves and techniques he can do is incredible. He can do spin moves. He can get low. He can beat off the bigger blocks if he needs to. And then just him in the pass rush, it's next level. He can produce turnovers. And as good as Grayson has been at producing studs defensively, I think he's going to go down as one of the best ever. He started last year as a freshman. He was already ready to go, and then he took a big leap forward his sophomore season. I think he's going to be a really exciting player and definitely earned his spot on that list. All right, C.J. Wiley from Milton. He had 68 catches for 1,473 yards and 14 touchdowns. If you didn't know who C.J. Wiley was before this season, you definitely learned his name after it. 68 catches. We've seen, I mean, that's a lot at the high school level. I think most I've seen, I think Marietta when they had Harrison Bailey at quarterback, I think Eric Gilbert, and then forgot the other receiver's name. I think they had about 90 catches. So 68's a lot, but it's the yardage. He went for 1,473. That's a ton of yards, 14 touchdowns, a touchdown machine, and he was just always the go-to guy. He always got open. He made the offense move. He was a consistent deep threat. And then when he got going in all these games, it really opened things up for the offense and helped Milton obviously win that state title. He's an absolute baller. All right, Elias Williams is number 7 on that list from Camden County. And I think if you were to just measure the athletic gifts of all these guys, I think he might have the highest ceiling. This guy is an unbelievable athlete. He's big, looks like a starting NBA power forward or small forward, and he's playing at the tight end position, defensive end, and he's just a natural freak. When Walton played Camden County, it's just like, who is that guy? Then you find out he's an underclassman. I think he's one of the most exciting prospects in the state. He was a huge part of Camden County being able to become not only relevant again, but a team that, okay, they've got some real studs and they have a chance to win the region over Colquitt, and they've proven they can come up to Atlanta and compete with anyone. And I think he's going to take another big step this upcoming season. But yeah, if you have not seen just the physical frame and the combination of size and speed, this guy is truly special and one of the best athletes I have ever seen at the high school level. He's just getting started, and he was a big-time playmaker in every matchup. But when Camden comes up to Atlanta, I felt like he was the best player on the field in every single one of those matchups. All right, so number 8, we got Luke Nickel. Can't say enough good things about him. 3,914 yards, 39 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions. He's only a junior. He's committed, I believe, still to Miami. We'll see if that holds. He got on the radar last year as a sophomore, but just continued to impress people throughout this year. Led an incredible passing attack for Milton, commanded the offense, and then if you look at their playoff run, it was incredible. Just beating Colquitt County, Grayson, and then Walton. He had to be at the top of his game, and he was. What I really liked, though, in the playoffs, though, he kept the chains moving with maturity and great decision-making. He ended up having 181 rushing yards, and then 4 of his 6 rushing touchdowns came in the playoffs. Huge individual plays to keep the chain moving and then allow Milton to play within the game, control time of possession, and really dictate the pace of the game and keep the opponents on the heel. I'm really excited to see what Luke's going to do next season. I think Milton's going to be a significant favorite. They're down in Class 5A now. A lot of teams on their schedule. They're going to know exactly what they're up against, and they're going to have to find an answer for Luke because he's got the full package and he's got a lot of weapons returning. I think they're only going to be even better, and he's going to rise to one of the best prospects to come through the state in recent years. All right, number 9, Usmani Kroma, one of the most impressive backs we saw all season long, and his performance against Houston County was absolutely next level. Rushed for over 300 yards while banged up, was dragging guys all over the field, and the guy I compared him to physically was Richard Samuel, who played at Cass and then ended up playing at the University of Georgia, just because he's such a big guy, but he's still the fastest guy on the field. He has the home run ability, but also he can make guys miss. He can find the holes, but it's his power that is something special. I mean, he's built differently. He's got a great base, powerful legs, and then I thought he played in probably the best, the deepest region, definitely in 6A, if not the state, with Thomas County Central, Houston County, and all those teams. And then he's able to average 9.8 yards per carry. He's only a junior. His final numbers, 182 carries, 1,783 yards, and 20 touchdowns. Absolute beast. Pleasure to watch, and one of the most exciting players in the state this season, and definitely on the board for next year. Watch out for him. The sky's the limit. He is a special back. All right, and then the final guy on the list is Jaden Duke Scott from Stockbridge. Thought he had an incredible season. Had nearly 2,500 rushing yards, took 237 carries. There's probably not a lot of backs that took more carries than that this season. He had 39 touchdowns, also had 3 receiving touchdowns, 27 catches, and contributed in that aspect. But it was the big game he had against Benedictine where I think he really stood out. Benedictine had not lost to a Class 4A opponent in 3 seasons. They obviously beat Ware County this year. They had Luke Kromenhoek returning. They had a great team. But in that game, he had an incredible performance to earn them that victory, one of the biggest upsets of the season. We had a feeling it was going to happen, but it was all going to come down to him. Benedictine knew they were going to stop him. Benedictine had won the state title the last year by shutting down Cedartown, who was the best rushing attack in the state statistically. They had a 2-headed monster. You had Harlem Diamond. You had the big 240-pound back. And so Benedictine was able to stop that rushing attack. But Jaden, he was just too fast and too determined. And in that game, he had 27 carries, 310 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He averaged 165 yards on the ground for the season and 10.5 yards per carry. Doesn't get much better than that. So that's the top 10. Those guys all are going to have bright futures. Jeremy's a senior. KJ's a senior. Sammy's a senior. You got Tyler as the sophomore. Some other underclassmen. Jaden, of course, is a senior as well. And then he's going to South Carolina, is that right?
NC State.
NC State, that's right. That is right. So yeah, you guys can go to Score ATL, check that list, and then obviously that's become a tradition, and we'll get our top 10 next year, and then we'll keep track of what these guys all do at the next level. So very exciting. Milton was the only team on there that had two guys, CJ Wiley and Luke Nickel, but man, that's hard to even pick just two from that team, winning 7A like they did. But yeah, it's a great list, and I mean, really, all these guys just stand out in their own unique ways. I mean, Tyler Atkinson, the numbers he put up, I think he is very exciting. And then when we covered him at the Archer game, I didn't realize how close Grayson and Archer are. I mean, those schools are right next to each other, and I was talking to an Archer coach who had a son on the team that had played youth basketball with Tyler, and it was the first time he had seen him since they were probably in like the 6th or 7th grade. And he goes, that's the first guy where I didn't even recognize him. That's how much he's grown. And you look at Tyler's social media and Twitter account, that guy is training high level every single day. And what he does, probably better than any high school athlete I've seen, is the way he takes care of his body. He's doing it like an NFL player. State of the art, full dedication, and he is really just invested on doing everything he can to become a special talent. So you have to bet on anyone in this group. Tyler Atkinson, he's doing everything to be that special playmaker. Great list, and I really enjoyed it. You can also check out the other names that didn't make it. Obviously, plenty of fantastic guys. But let's go ahead. We'll take a quick break and thank our sponsors. We'll be back on the other side.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me. Can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back. So let's get into some of our coaching updates. We talked about it a little bit on Monday, but let's go over some of the big changes. So the ones that have been filled, Charlton County hired DeMario Jones to replace Russ Murray. Cherokee, Adam Holly is going to take over for Josh Shaw. I think that's an interesting one. I mean, Cherokee has been competitive these last few seasons, but they've just come on the short end in a lot of close games. And I think they just are looking for someone that's going to lead them back into home playoff games. And I thought Coach Shaw did a good job. They just didn't have enough pieces the last few seasons. So Adam Holly takes over for the Warriors. You also have, I think this is going to be an interesting job, Dustin Cannon taking over for East Forsyth. That is a great up-and-coming program. They competed in 4A this last year in the largest region and earned a playoff spot. I mentioned they beat Cherokee Bluff. I think they finished third in the region. Madison County, North Dakota took the top seeds, and they really had to battle the last 4 weeks of the season to make the playoffs, and they just missed out the year before that. I think that was only their third season in existence. And we saw the exact same thing happen with Denmark when they opened up. back in, I think that was 2000, probably 17 or 18. They got to the scene and were playing in Class 4A. They hired Terry Crowder, who's also on this list. We'll talk about him. But Terry Crowder's a state champion coach. He won a state title at Chattahoochee. And he came in his first year at Denmark. Denmark competed, one of the first schools to literally open its doors for the first time in the fall and not take any seasons off. They played football the first year. And so that took their assistant coaches in the spring prior to that, coming from their current schools, driving to to Denmark, and then having to practice at like 7 or 8 p.m. And then they didn't have a single senior on their roster. Well, then after those first 2 seasons, because it's a 2-year reclassification cycle, they had a great second year as that junior class went to seniors, and then they got bumped up to 7A. East Forsyth is similar. They've been in 4A the last few seasons, but now they have the full graduating class, and they're in a great location, and Coach Allison did a phenomenal job. They were competitive out the gates, and now Dustin Cannon is going to be the 3rd all-time head coach in just 4 short years. So definitely will be interesting to see what the Broncos do. They definitely established themselves this last year. All right, Fayette County is going to have to replace Nick Davis. Greenbrier is going to have a new head coach. They hired Sean Tiernan. He replaces Tony Kramer. And then these are some of the other big ones. You got Paul Carroll at Howard. He had been with the Huskies for quite a long time, led them to their most successful seasons recently. He steps down. And then Haralson County's Scott Peavy. He did a great job with the Rebels. They had, what was that guy's name? Can't remember that guy's name. Clay Hyatt, yeah. Led them deep into the playoffs his last few seasons in probably the toughest Class 3A region outside of the Cedar Grove, Sandy Creek one. That's with Appling County, Pierce County, and some really tough football teams. But he's going to step down. Haralson County will definitely still be relevant. And then the Harrison job, Coach Cassidy steps down. I think that one's interesting because he really wasn't there that long. He was the defensive coordinator under Matt Dickman, and then he took over in 2021. And so that's the 21 season, 2-3. So now they're going to have a new head coach. Harrison was really solid 7A team last year. Obviously made the playoffs. They were leading a North Paulding game, lost some really close games, but has a ton returning. And I think that's one of the premier jobs on this current carousel. So who's going to take over that one will be an interesting storyline. Terry Crowder, who we mentioned, he's been at Creekview, Chattahoochee, and then Kings Ridge Christian most recently. He stepped down, and Zach Slaney is the new head coach at Kings Ridge. So we'll see if Terry Crowder takes one of these big jobs. And then you also have Lithonia, Kevin Hill. He did a good job with the Bulldogs. We've had him on the show. Andy Scott, former Kennesaw Mountain head coach, steps down at Lafayette. And then Mays, Tony Slayton steps down. Thought Coach Slayton did a really good job in his 2 short years. He was coaching his alma mater, so I'm interested to see what the Raiders are going to do to replace a great coach that has led them to some big playoff wins these last few years. Mount Pisgah, they hired Elijah Martinez. So let's look at him real quick. So he has 7 years of coaching experience. He's a younger guy, though. He was previously the defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach, and he has now been at Mount Pisgah for 2 years. In terms of his playing and coaching experience, Elijah was a 4-year letter winner as a cornerback at Western Carolina, and he was the captain of the team his senior year. Following his playing career, he coached at several high schools across the state of Georgia and spent 1 year coaching at the collegiate level. Martinez lettered in football and track at Cartersville High School. As a senior in 2009, he was the team captain that year and was also named the team's best defensive back. I believe that was when Frank Barden was the head coach, and that was one of Cartersville's better seasons before, obviously, the Trevor Lawrence era. So he comes from the Cartersville program, played in college, team captain in both levels, and is now familiar with the Mount Pisgah program. I think that'll be exciting. And then Coach Livesley is now going to be the AD, so I think that's going to be a great move that we've been mentioning. All right, so then the other one, Ola Tomkazi, that is, I'm interested where he's going to land, because if you look at his career, he won state titles out of state. He comes to Ola, leads them to their best season in school history. And then, I mean, he definitely could have stayed at Ola. They didn't tell him to leave. I think he's a candidate for some of these other big jobs, because he has proven he can come in and change the culture and can really turn them around. And let's not forget, Ola was in one of the toughest regions in the state last year and earned a playoff bid. That's Jones County, Warner Robins, Ware County, and they were right in there for every single game. All right, Pickens, they're going to hire Craig Bennett from Cambridge, and we will have him on the show on Friday. He texted me last night, and he said he has been so busy and can't commit to what his schedule is because he's just trying to gel in. He didn't take over that position until January 4th, so it hasn't even been a week yet. But let's look at his resume a little bit, because I think Pickens has been, I mean, they've been solid. They have not made that deep playoff run. I think defensively they've struggled a little bit in terms of their points per game average, but they've always been solid. So this is Craig Bennett's resume. All right, so in a called meeting on January 4th, the Pickens County Board of Education approved the hiring of Craig Bennett to serve as the next head coach for Pickens. He has served the last 12 years as a head coach at Cambridge in North Fulton County. He was one of the longest tenured head coaches in all of Metro Atlanta, serving in that role since Cambridge opened in the fall of 2012. As the head coach at Cambridge, Coach Bennett has led his team to the state playoffs in each of the past 4 seasons and advanced to the second round of the playoffs in 2020, 2021, and 2022. His 2021 team finished number 7 in the final state Class 6A rankings. And then if you remember last year's team in 2022, they were the real deal as well. We covered their game against Kell, where they absolutely balled out in that one. In 2022, Coach Bennett's team won the Region 6 5A championship and again finished number 7 in the final rankings. Coach Bennett serves on the board of the Georgia Football Coaches Association and has been named Coach of the Week by the Atlanta Touchdown Club, as well as Region Coach of the Year by the Georgia Athletic Coaches Association. Coach Bennett also served as the Associate Athletic Director at Cambridge. Prior to his time at Cambridge, Coach Bennett taught social studies and coached at Pope, Darlington, and Milton. Tremendous resume. In addition to coaching football, he has also served as assistant coach in girls basketball, boys basketball, track, and golf. While at Milton, Coach Bennett was the head coach of the girls basketball and served as AD. So that is a great hire for Pickens. Obviously, he's got the resume. He's been in the administrative role. He's coached multiple sports, and he was a key part of Cambridge getting off the ground running in North Fulton, where we talk to coaches a lot in that area. And one of the biggest concerns is how hard it is to keep kids at your school. It is very competitive, lots of movement around the area. It happens everywhere, but really, you look at all the different schools there. You got Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Milton. You got the first high schools right around the border. So there are a ton of high schools in that area, but they were able to be competitive, win state titles across the board in sports just 2 years into this. And I think it will be interesting what he's able to do at Pickens. We'll have him on this week just to talk about it. So he is a new hire right there. You also have Pepperell is going to have a new head coach. That was a little surprising. Rick Hurst, longtime Pepperell Dragons coach, and if you remember this past season, they had a huge win against their arch rival Darlington. That was one of the bigger victories of the season. So he's another guy who's just been coaching there a long time, and he's going to, I guess, hang it up, and the Dragons will have to find a new head coach. Paulding County, that's Eric Robinson. He's stepping down. That is still open as well. I think Paulding County overall is another county that you look at them across the board these last few seasons, super competitive and definitely trending upwards. South Paulding's had great teams, and then East Paulding certainly is on the rise. Pike County is going to need to replace Brian Hawley. Riverwood's going to have a new coach. Michael Young stepped down. He took over for that was Robert Edwards. And then South Cobb, they're going to need a new head coach. You also have Tift County open. That'll be interesting. That's Noel Dean. They've had quite a few coaches the last few years. And then a couple more on the list. You got Turner County, Twiggs County, Union Grove, and Wheeler County. We mentioned last year was probably, I'd say, in the 80 range in terms of opening. That's typically where it's at. Currently, we're at about 49, so it will probably stay below the 80. I don't think it's going to take off too much, but it certainly can once these positions. And then I guess the hidden side of this is the assistants and how they move around, because you take over one of these big new jobs, like let's just talk about Craig Bennett for an example. He's going to go to Pickens. Well, Pickens has had a lot of turnover, so how many of those guys are they going to retain? And then is he going to bring in his own guys from Cambridge, or is he going to bring in a guy that maybe someone took over Cambridge? We still don't know who they're going to hire, so he's waiting to see what's going on there. But then is he going to bring maybe a position coach that has the ability to be a coordinator, and then he's going to be able to use that opportunity at Pickens to then get his own job. So it's going to move, not just with the head coaches. The entire thing is going to shift. You're going to see some coordinators move around as well. And then I guess this is the only other thing I wanted to touch on. I wanted to give a shout out to Coach Maloof at Norcross. And this is Keith Maloof. His brother is Kevin. He was a longtime coach. And I know it drives Keith crazy because it's happened their entire life. When people call him Kevin, and I've witnessed people do it. But this is Keith Maloof at Norcross, one of the veteran coaches in the state. And he keeps getting it done. And it's just exciting to see him doing his thing. And then we saw what Coach Chadwick did this last year at Marist. Two absolute legends that we are able to continue watching. So Norcross High School head coach Keith Maloof is named Atlanta Falcons 2023 Coach of the Year, and his former player, Falcons outside linebacker Lorenzo Carter, went back to Norcross to surprise his coach with the award. Keith Maloof of Norcross has been named the Falcons Coach of the Year and will serve as the Falcons nominee for the Don Shula NFL High School Coach of the Year award. The award is given to the high school head coach that represents integrity, leadership, perseverance, dedication to the community, commitment to player protection, and on-field success. His on-field success has allowed him to become a pioneer in the Georgia high school football community. With more than 40 years of coaching experience, including 28 seasons as a head coach, Maloof won back-to-back state titles in 2012 and 13, and recently became the winningest coach in Gwinnett County history, a huge accomplishment with an overall record of 224-99. Maloof's teams have won 7 region titles in addition to his 2 state titles, and he is Gwinnett County's first ever 200-game winner. So it's a big accomplishment for him. And we know Tyler Maloof is doing his thing at Lanier. So very exciting. Congratulations to him, and we'll see how he does in the National Don Shula runoff. It says, as the Falcons nominee, Maloof could become the 3rd high school coach from Georgia to end up winning the Don Shula NFL High School Coach of the Year award over the past 5 seasons, joining Dalton's Matt Land in 2019 and Booker T. Washington High School's Derek Avery in 2020. So there you have it. That's it for today. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 2 o'clock for Keeping It Real with Najee Wilkins. I know he's going to have a ton of tail of the tape, recruiting news, and all the latest and breaking. So thank you so much for joining us. Hope everyone enjoys their day.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.